The unspoken war. Have you ever felt that the kinder you are, the less respect people have for you? That the more you try to please, the more others seem to ignore you, to test you, to use you. It is a silent, creeping erosion of the self. Maybe you can't put it into words, but you feel it in your body, in the tension that tightens in your jaw when you swallow a response you desperately wanted to give, in the discomfort of realizing that your voice, though it makes a sound, is not actually being heard, in the profound, soul-crushing frustration of seeing manipulative, cold, and even cruel people being respected, while you, who just wanted peace, are constantly stepped on. But what if I told you that this is not a coincidence? That there is a cold, hard logic behind it. A dark, uncomfortable, but undeniably true logic that governs the unseen world of human power dynamics. Niccolò Machiavelli wrote over 500 years ago that it is better to be feared than loved when you cannot be both. And however cold or even cruel that may sound, the reality is that the world we live in responds more to the perception of strength than to the performance of kindness. Not because people are naturally evil, but because the human mind, at its most primal level, respects boundaries, not promises. It admires strength, not submission. We are not talking about becoming a tyrant, a manipulator, or a narcissist. That is the path of the weak, the path of those who must perform their power because they do not truly possess it. We are talking about something much deeper, about understanding that being good in a world of competing interests is simply not enough. That being kind without knowing how to impose respect is like bleeding in an ocean full of sharks. Sooner or later, your vulnerability will be scented. Maybe you are at that point right now, tired of being ignored, of giving too much and receiving too little, of feeling like a ghost in your own life. Maybe you are wondering, how can I be respected without becoming someone I hate? How can I show strength without losing my essence? This video is for you. Here, we will unmask the dangerous illusion that kindness is enough. We will explore what modern psychology says about fear, respect, and authority. And with the unflinching realism of Machiavelli as our guide, we will discover how to transform your presence from something that is easily overlooked into something that others do not dare to ignore. Because in the real world, those who do not set their own boundaries will have them set for them, and always at their own expense. If you are ready to look in the mirror and finally understand why you are treated this way, keep watching. What comes next may change the way you position yourself in the world, forever. Before we proceed, a moment of consideration. This is not a comfortable journey, but it is a necessary one. This channel is a space for those who are ready for the truth. If you are one of them, I invite you to subscribe to ensure you have a guide for the path ahead. Your presence here is a conscious choice. Let us now continue. The psychology of fear and respect. People do not respect kindness in itself. They respect what kindness represents when it is accompanied by undeniable strength. The fundamental mistake is in thinking that being good is enough, as if treating others well, being kind, avoiding conflicts, and sacrificing your own needs would automatically make you valued. But the human brain, a product of millions of years of survival, does not operate on that naive software. Respect does not arise from your intention. It arises from the perception of your authority. And authority is built with posture, with firmness, and yes, with a certain healthy degree of fear. Psychology has long shown that human beings react to fear with attention. When someone imposes clear boundaries, when they speak with conviction, when they do not hesitate to withdraw from abusive situations, the message conveyed to the unconscious mind of the other is simple and primal. There is a line here. Do not cross it. The other person's brain understands this not as a request but as a barrier, a territory with an electric fence, a field where one does not tread without caution. Now think of the opposite, the person who says yes when they mean no. The person who over-explains, seeking validation for their own decisions. The person who smiles to avoid a necessary conflict. The person who remains silent to keep a false peace. In the eyes of an observer, this person does not convey security. They convey permission. And where there is too much permission, abuse is inevitably born. Fear and respect are connected by an invisible but powerful thread. We are not speaking of the fear of violence or aggression. That is the tool of the brute, a sign of disguised weakness. True psychological strength lies in absolute self-control. It is found in a firm silence that is heavier than 1,000 words. It is in a gaze that does not need to justify its own existence. It is in the simple, unwavering act of saying no without a tremor in your voice, without a lengthy apology attached. Machiavelli was not suggesting that a ruler be cruel for pleasure. He was warning of a fundamental human fact. People quickly forget favors, but they never forget the person who makes them think twice before crossing a line. This applies to political leaders, yes, but it also applies to you, in your work, in your friendships, in your relationships. Those who do not understand this dynamic spend their lives trying to be liked, but they will never be taken seriously. The dilemma of the good person. Let's make this tangible. Imagine a woman named Clara. Clara is the embodiment of goodness. In her office, she is the one who always stays late to help colleagues, who never says no to an extra project, who absorbs the blame to keep the team's harmony. In her family, she is the peacemaker, the one who listens to everyone's problems, who mediates every argument, who sacrifices her own weekends to meet the needs of others. Clara's identity is built on being helpful, kind, and indispensable. But Clara is profoundly unhappy. She is overworked, underappreciated, and perpetually exhausted. Her colleagues take her help for granted, and her boss piles on more work, knowing she won't refuse. Her family treats her as an emotional utility, a reliable service, but rarely asks about her own struggles. She is respected for her utility, but not for her personhood. Here lies the goodness dilemma. Clara's kindness has become her weakness. She is being exploited because she is good. She starts to wonder, is the problem me? Am I being too nice? But then a wave of guilt washes over her. If I stop being this way, won't I be betraying who I am? Won't I become selfish and cold? It is at this point that many good people get stuck, trapped in a psychological prison of their own making. They believe that to become firm is to become corrupt. But here's the truth no one told Clara. There is no true kindness without strength. A kindness that does not know how to protect itself, that does not set boundaries, that does not recognize when it is being exploited, is not virtue. It is naivety. And in the world of human dynamics, naivete is a tragedy. Clara has fallen into a psychological trap, validation dependency. She has confused being passive with being peaceful. Little by little, she has been swallowed by unbalanced relationships where only she gives, only she donates, only she cares. Psychology calls this self-abandonment. You emotionally abandon yourself to sustain the image of someone good, pleasant, and loved. But the cost is catastrophic. You lose the respect of others, yes, but far worse, you lose respect for yourself. The realism of Machiavelli. To find a way out of Clara's dilemma, we must turn to an unrelenting observer of human nature. a man who lived surrounded by political betrayals, civil wars, and false allies, Niccolò Machiavelli. He saw with his own eyes what most people still refuse to see, that power is not in the hands of the righteous, but in the hands of the clear-sighted. When Machiavelli says it is safer to be feared than loved, he is not promoting gratuitous cruelty. He is making a cold, calculated observation about the nature of human emotion. The love of others, he argues, is unstable, conditional, and fragile. People love you when you benefit them, when you satisfy their interests. But that love evaporates at the first sign of conflict, at the first no you dare to say. Fear, on the other hand, when used wisely, creates boundaries. It establishes a margin of respect. It is an invisible barrier that prevents abuse, manipulation, and disloyalty. Machiavelli saw fear not as a weapon of destruction, but as a wall of protection. The leader, or the individual, who does not inspire any fear, any sense that there are consequences for disrespect, will sooner or later be betrayed. Because without fear, there is no caution. And without caution, human beings often reveal their worst selves. He also warned about the crucial importance of balance. Fear must be measured. A ruler who is only feared and therefore hated creates fertile ground for revolts and conspiracies. True power lies in being respected, and respect is built with a precise combination of firmness, strategy, and self-control. He advocated for surgical coldness, not unchecked brutality. A leader who is swayed by hatred loses control. A man who commands through a healthy fear keeps everyone alert, and no one dares to underestimate him. Now stop and think, how does this apply to your life? Are you governing your own existence, or are you letting others dictate the rules? Have you been the one who sets boundaries, or the one who is constantly tested until you lose your patience? The answer lies in how you impose your presence. And this is what we will talk about next: how to be feared without being hated. The art of authority. There is a vast difference between being feared and being hated. If you don't know how to walk this fine line, you risk falling into one of the two extremes that destroy any power relationship: the passivity that invites abuse, or the tyranny that generates revolt. True authority lies in the balance, and it is an art that few master. Being feared, in the Machiavellian sense, does not mean being aggressive. It does not mean being violent, shouting, humiliating, or controlling through constant terror. That is not respect. It is intimidation. And intimidation always has an expiration date. Sooner or later, it turns against those who imposed it. The secret lies here. You need to be respected to the point that people do not dare to cross the boundaries you set. But you also need to be fair enough that they do not wish to see you fall. How does this apply to you in your real life? It means acting with clarity, with posture, with coherence. It starts with small, deliberate gestures. 1. Master the firm no, say no without a lengthy, apologetic explanation. A simple, I won't be able to do that, is a complete sentence. The more you explain, the more you invite negotiation, and the weaker your position becomes. 2. Withdraw your attention. When someone is being disrespectful, manipulative, or toxic, your most powerful move is not to argue, but to withdraw your attention. A calm silence, a change of subject, or physically leaving the conversation communicates that their behavior is not worthy of your energy. 3. Let your actions speak. Do not make threats. Make decisions. Instead of saying, if you do that again, I'll be angry, simply enforce the boundary when it's crossed. If someone is consistently late, you leave at the agreed-upon time. Your actions teach people how you expect to be treated far more effectively than your words. Psychology proves it. People who exercise authority silently, without resorting to direct confrontation, generate more respect in the long run. It is the so-called latent power, the kind that is present even when not being exercised. The type of power that makes others think twice before acting, not because you intimidate them, but because they know you do not tolerate disrespect. This is the key, to show that you are in control, not of others, but of yourself. The path to true respect. We begin with the painful feeling of being good but not respected. We have journeyed through the uncomfortable truths of psychology and the cold realism of Machiavelli to understand that true goodness cannot exist without the strength to defend its own boundaries. We have unmasked the illusion that kindness alone is enough, understanding that respect is born from the perception of authority. We explored the goodness dilemma through the story of Clara, seeing how undiscerning kindness leads to self-abandonment. We have reclaimed Machiavelli, not as a teacher of evil, but as a radical realist who taught that a healthy fear creates the necessary boundaries for respect. And we have outlined the practical art of authority, mastering the firm no, withdrawing your attention, and letting your actions define your principles. There comes a time when you must make a decision. Either you continue trying to please the world, hoping that people will finally see your worth, or you stop begging for emotional crumbs and start behaving like someone who commands respect. Because the truth is simple but brutal, no one will give you what you do not demand for yourself. You do not need to become cold. You do not need to turn into a tyrant. But you need to learn to stand for yourself, to raise your boundaries like invisible walls, to look into the eyes of those who try to manipulate you, and maintain a firm silence that says, "Not with me, not anymore." That is true strength. The kind that does not need to shout, but that is felt in the air, in your posture, in your gaze. This strength begins the moment you stop trying to be loved by everyone and start demanding to be respected by all. As Machiavelli himself wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both." You have been given the map. The journey begins now. In what area of your life do you feel you need to start asserting yourself? Work? Family? Relationships? Write your answer in the comments. Your commitment can create a space for others to reflect as well. If this message resonated with you, if any part of this video struck a chord deep within, then you must keep going. Subscribe to the channel, because understanding the psychology of respect is just the beginning. The journey is only starting, and you do not have to walk it alone.